I knew I was going to love this film. If The Fabelmans is an ode to filmmaking and filmmakers, then I think Empire of Light is an ode to ushers and theater attendants who serve moviegoers to help make our experience enjoyable. Here is my review of Sam Mendes's new film, Empire of Light. Director and screenwriter Sam Mendes delivered a masterpiece. Not only does he celebrate the theatrical experience made possible by the staff at this theater, the Empire, but interwoven in this awkward love story between Olivia Colman's Hillary, a mentally unstable, lonely 40-something-year-old duty manager at this theater, and Michael Ward's Stephen, a black college-age aspiring architect, her subordinate at this theater. In that way, classic film stripping, traditional, exclusive cast movie, that's Hillary, and the new digitized, inclusive, representational movie, that's Stephen. Their turbulent love story serves as a metaphor for the gulf between the old classic movies and the future of film. To my mind, it's similar to the movie Brown Sugar, starring Taye Diggs and Sanaa Lathan, which was an introspection on old school hip hop struggling to embrace new age hip hop and the direction that the genre was going in. What a great year that we celebrated films and filmmaking. We had X, okay. It was about the explosion of pornos in the 70s, really. And then you have Nope, which was about capturing on film spectacles. Great job doing that. And you had The Fabelmans, which was sort of a fantasy fiction about the greatest filmmaker of all time, Steven Spielberg. And you have this film here, Empire of Light, that's celebrating the movie-going experience and those who serve us so that we can enjoy this experience. And then we're going to close out this year with Babylon, which chronicles the transition of the silent film era to talkies and the spectacles surrounding that. So after coming off of, a pandemic where a lot of, basically the film industry was shut down with a few exceptions and movies were shut down, we this year are celebrating everyone who contributes to our movie-going experience. And I appreciate that. Now, this film opens touring the Empire. The Empire is a theater. It's on a coastal town in England. So we see the concession stands, the theaters, the balcony, the ticket booth. This, in any other director's hands, perhaps is just captured. But here, what Sam Mendes does is immerses you in, it felt not just nostalgic to me because I remember how I loved being in a theater as a kid. And I remember, when my father took me to my first movie, Star Wars, and when he took me to see Annie. In the last two movies we saw, I remember what that felt like. And here, when I see it with that beautiful piano concerto playing, and we tour this this theater, the Empire, it felt, it felt nostalgic, but it also felt consecrated in a way. He does this, Sam Mendes, the director, so brilliantly, and I knew from that scene I was all in. I knew I was gonna love this film, and I knew what it was saying to me and people like me who love. I I I love the theater going experience. I love to see movies on the big screen in the theater, and I think he wrote this and directed this for movie lovers. I've seen pundits say that this performance from Olivia Colman is not worthy of an Oscar nomination, and I wholeheartedly disagree. I believe this is her best performance since The Favorite. Here's the thing: Olivia Colman knows how to reach an audience not just with dialogue. She has some great dialogue in this film, and I believe she has so many Oscar worthy scenes. She does this like non-verbal communication, like she's such a non-verbal actor as much as she's a communicative actor. She uses her body in this physical way that just conveys so much. Her facial expressions and her body language communicates just as much as her magnetic dialogue. Her performance in this film is astounding. And again, there are so many Oscar-worthy clips in this film. There's this one scene where she makes a spectacle. It's near the end of the second act, and just before this audience is about to screen Chariots of Fire. They're all seated, the lights are about to lower, and she takes the stage abruptly. She's unaware that she is embarrassing herself and embarrassing the theater, and she's got this lipstick stain on her teeth as she's reading this poem. She loves poems, and she's reading this poem in front of this audience who's just there to see Chariots of Fire. There's this like timid applause. They don't know what to do, the audience. And then Colin Firth, who is her boss in this film, sexually harassing her and exploiting her basically, he storms over and he's like, "What are you doing? This is supposed to be his big night or whatever." And his wife is watching from the balcony, and she exposes him and their affair, and he's like denying it. And to prove that she's not lying, she tells the wife where the condoms are. But when she storms out of the theater, her dress is unzipped. And if you know, like if you don't have help at home, her gown is like not all the way zipped. And this just is an indication of her loneliness, that she didn't have anyone to help her zip it. I mean, the attention to detail in this film and the scene, I mean, package this scene immediately and send it to Academy voters. It is a masterclass. Toby Jones has a screen stealing scene too, and I think there may be enough to consider him for a Best Supporting Actor. I'm not sure, but I just think he did a really great job. So there's this projector room. He allows no one in there to protect and conserve the film stripping and the projector and the lighting. He wants everything perfect. And he also has this room of all of these screen legends and sirens and so forth. So no one's allowed, but there's this one time where he allows Stephen entry into the projector room. Toby is going on about phi phenomenon and how the light transports the viewer to this ether world that magically connects us all. It's a beautiful scene. I wish I would have written every piece of dialogue. I'll get the script, but I wish I would have had written down what he wrote because it's so beautiful and he delivers it so powerfully. And again, his character also represents the classic way of filmmaking, the classic way of movie watching and movie going. And Stephen represents the way we see movies now. We don't all see movies in the theater, and we don't all, movies don't have the film stripping like they used to. It's so digitized now, and we can watch movies on our phone, and we can watch movies, on so many different devices. I think that was sort of the passing of the baton in a metaphorical way. I love the films that director Sam Mendes handpicked for the moviegoers in this film to see at the Empire. You had Being There, which is a political comedy nominated for Oscars, and then you have Stir Crazy, which was an interracial buddy comedy with the GOATs, Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor. And then you had the sports dramas, the bio sports dramas nominated for Oscars, Chariots of Fire, which was one of the premiere films in the movie, and Raging Bull, and what it took for Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro to even prepare to bring this film to life. I love that he handpicked those films for the moviegoers to see at the Empire. And another thing that stands out in this film is the score. The score is so beautiful. I mean, it's full of these elegant ballads, again, that's dominated by piano chords. It's really is empowered, I think, by the piano chords. It's very orchestral too, which I also think is strategic from Sam Mendes as an ode to, those earlier films, the talkies, and when silent films transitioned to talkies, when the theater had an orchestra pit that would play the score of the movie. I think that was strategic and purposeful, and it was a great touch to the film. It's beautifully shot. This is one of the best films of the year. To those who didn't appreciate it on the first look, I petition you, please see Empire of Light again. This, again, is one of the best films of the year. Olivia Colman, Michael Ward, Toby Jones, they deliver powerful performances, and they deserve your second look. Please see that film again. I loved this film. I loved Olivia Colman's performance. I hope she gets nominated for her performance in this film. Empire of Light is in select theaters now.